So we're back with Jake Sponsler from Orbitform for the Manufacturing Matters Jackson podcast part. So I loved watching the video that we just showed, and in talking with our partners at JTV, talking about how long the video was, and that's always the difficult decision of what you cut from what you take to get it down. But I think it's also a testament to the business, right? That you, one, have great people there who can talk about everything, but there's just so much to show because you do serve 20 industries. You do make a wide variety of things that your industry touches. So I thought that was a really cool thing.
Yeah, Brian does a great job sharing everything that we do, and he knows the ins and outs of the business. Been in this industry for a long time, with Orbitform for a long time, and he's a unique guy. So it's awesome to have him share the overview.
Yeah, I also did you maybe tell us off camera that he was at a conference this week out in out in wine country, and so I don't feel terrible for him this week.
No, it's one of the perks of the job. The Hand Tool Institute has a great association and a lot of collaboration. We do quite a bit in the hand tool space, so it's a good association for us to be part of. But yeah, the perk is that the meeting's in Napa Valley.
So, can you tell us a little bit about another exciting project that you think maybe your team has really loved to participate in? You just really saw that excitement from the team.
I think the more recently, the team has enjoyed the multi-station projects we've had. So, we went after COVID. It seemed like we were slowing down a little bit in terms of the bigger projects, and part of that's some of the automotive disruption. More recently, we've gotten some larger projects that have multiple machines to them. So, our sweet spot is really on standalone stations, but we've gotten some projects that have multiple standalone stations, and it's just an opportunity for us to showcase what we can do. And from a project management standpoint, our project managers get excited because there's some girth to it, and it's a challenge for them. And then the applications are kind of unique in terms of where they're going in the automotive industry and the different things they're serving, because the change in the automotive industry with EV and the different platforms and everything is just that there's different applications, different customers, there's more of them, but they're maybe not doing as high a volume. So it has changed the machinery aspect to it. But because we kind of had that transition, it's been a period of time where more than not, we've done single machines and, not had these bigger projects, and we're starting to see those, and it's been great for business so far this year. So it's been certainly positive, but the team also, it's a thing where they're excited about it.
What is the future for Orbitform? I mean, what's next as you're coming down? I mean, industry changes that are coming down. I mean, obviously you kind of talked a little bit maybe about like these multi-station types of projects that get your team excited, but where do you see the future going for the machinery that you make?
Yeah, I think it's going to continue to rely heavily on intelligent equipment. So one of the things that Brian touched on in the video was our servo articulating roller head. We were the first company to develop an articulating roller head. Basically, that's a forming machine that rotates to form a lip, but what the articulating portion does is it can actually advance in instead of just coming down on it and forming a lip. And so it has some complexity to it. Previously, we had done it with air, with pneumatics, and so we're evolving that to electric because the manufacturing industry is much like the automotive industry. A lot of things are being electrified because it can be a more efficient and a more precision way to address a manufacturing challenge. It's not the be-all, end-all, but it is a trend in the industry, and so that's an area we're looking to advance, as well as how we support on other areas of the equipment. So in terms of sensing or testing, functional testing is a growth area. More manufacturers want to know 100% that their parts are coming off the machine correct, rather than having to secondarily test them, which is expensive, or find them in the field, which is crazy expensive. And so they don't want that. So they're willing to spend on a more advanced machine to accomplish better quality. And so we're just working hard to make sure that our product development and our focus from a presentation and offering standpoint aligns with that.
And what do you think the manufacturing, I mean, we've talked a little bit about Orbitform and their future, but the manufacturing outlook in general, what do you think that looks like in the next 6 months, year?
Yeah, I think this year, we've seen the trends being very strong in terms of, the first half of last year was fairly tough. The second half kind of leveled out and seemed okay. Expectations for us is 2026 is going to be similar full year to what the second half of last year was, to maybe a slight uptick. And so far we've seen a slight uptick. So we're staying motivated to get out there and meet with customers to make sure that stays that way or keeps growing. But we do see positive things for 2026. And from the other manufacturers I've talked to, it's a fairly strong consensus in that regard. So.
Yeah, that's what I've been hearing as well.
Great.
So.
I mean, I think it's always interesting, how people answer that question, like where they see manufacturing going. And, from my standpoint, from Olivia's standpoint, right, that's the biggest question for us too, right? Mm-hmm. Like that future, because we are so heavily involved in manufacturing in Jackson mm-hmm. County. So I love to hear that, hey, it's looking like the second half of 2025 as opposed mm-hmm. to the first half of 2025. And I think generally we've been hearing that in our business retention visits. I assume you've been hearing something similar mm-hmm. as well. One of the questions I have for you is your customer market that you serve, is it primarily domestic, or are you exporting out? Do you ship around the world?
We do ship globally. However, 90% of our sales are North mm-hmm. America. So our technology gets used pretty heavily in Mexico and Canada, but most of the more advanced systems or higher capability machines we're selling in the U.S. And so it kind of tapers as you go out further. Mm-hmm. So, but there is a portion that we sell internationally. A lot of those are companies that are U.S. based that have operations and they've experienced our technology in the U.S. and they expand it to other operations because they've had success with it. So.
Gotcha.
So can you talk about, I know you mentioned like partnering with JAMA and Accelerate Jackson County, but what are some other partnerships that truly stand out to you that you have here in Jackson?
Well, I think every portion of the business is pretty touched by Jackson County. We, from an insurance support standpoint, from any of the other, we have collaborations with other manufacturers where we meet and we just kind of discuss challenges and problems, and they help from that standpoint, from having like a peer group to discuss things. It's most of the portions of our business we're addressing and supporting locally. So.
That's awesome. Well, Jake, is there anything we didn't ask you? I think we've kind of covered a lot of topics over the course of between the show and this further podcast. Is there anything else we haven't asked you about the business or that we would want to hit on?
I really, I think we covered it pretty well. I mean, the one part I think that is important is to share, and I'm always an advocate, is really in the Jackson area and in manufacturing, there's so many opportunities, and we have students through all the time. And really, awesome. One of my favorite things to do is get up on the soapbox and talk about how the technology forward, advanced manufacturing opportunities that are going to be there, they're wildly different than people think they are. They have this picture of historical manufacture, of drudgery, of moving apart from point A to point B and it being dirty and grimy. And the reality is the majority of manufacturing is high-tech, computer-based, engagement. And that trend with AI and automation, it's just going to continue because the people who support all of those systems are going to have to know more. And so that's one of the biggest things that I just want to be an advocate for, is just hoping we highlight that and push people into manufacturing, because it's really what the foundation of our economy is really how do we make things, and how are we productive and producing things.
That's a perfect end note.
It is. It is. So, Jake, thank you for joining us on Manufacturing Matters, Jackson. We truly appreciate you being
Thank
willing
you for
to
having me.
come
It was
on.
awesome.
Absolutely. Thank you.